I would much rather be in my FJ40 than in the Cybertruck. Welcome back. I'm Tedward, and today, thanks to Bond Group in Waltham, Massachusetts, we're driving a Land Cruiser. This is a 1982 Toyota Land Cruiser FJ40. It's powered by its inline-six 4.2-liter displacement, making 135 horsepower, 210 pound-feet of torque, and mated to a 4-speed manual gearbox. Earlier model years may have had a 3-speed manual gearbox, and I've been told the 4-speed is a nice, healthy upgrade. But at first glance, to me, this is a Japanese Defender. And as of late, in the last few years, the most iconic Land Cruisers that I've seen of FJ40s have been Icons. Icon goes and throws Chevy LSs in them, and they make them a lot more potent and modern. But I've always wanted to drive a more original Land Cruiser and see what it's like, because these were not part of my childhood. Sure, this may have been the off-roader used in The Parent Trap when Lindsay Lohan and her dad went camping, but other than that, I don't think I've ever really spent any time near one, or certainly not in one. So let's take a look around. I'm sure there's a lot of FJ enthusiasts and experts who are watching this, and please feel free to inject knowledge here. I'm going to show you around, and we're going to go for a drive, and I just want you to get really saturated with all the sights and sounds, because this thing is very cool. First, let's just get under the hood. Very simple stuff, and I love having these type of Jeep style, and I know, I'm sure these are not Jeep style, but to me, this is what I see on Jeeps, so I'm an American. It is what it is. And you've also got these little stoppers and another set here to clamp down this front windscreen if you were to rotate it down, because you can open this way up. So this opens very simply, and then we can pop this guy over here. Very nice. And that reveals a pretty easy to work on Toyota inline-six. You've got access to everything. Your entire ignition system is, boom, right there. This is carbureted. So if you're a DIYer, the FJ should be all right. I mean, look, entropy is real. Time takes its toll. So a lot of these are rusted out and disgusting, or just in need of some new upgrades, you know, a new radiator or other things. This one looks like it was taken care of to be a driver. Although inside, this is not bad. These look like fairly new seats, and you've got room for folks in the back. This very much looks like a Defender 90 to me. And with this roll cage, roll bar, and all the scaffolding for the fabric roof and the plastic windows, it'll do just fine in crummy weather, but this is a beach vehicle. This is what you want to take down to Martha's Vineyard or Nantucket or the Cape and just pull all of this off and have it completely open air. But it's really nice when you see this kind of clean, because I've spent a lot of time in some ratty Defenders, and all of this looks very tetanus-free, which is lovely. I'm into that. This gauge cluster, very cool in kilometers. Everything looking very Japanese. Around back, big old full-size spare. You need it if you're going to do some serious off-roading. And I love the badging. This is really cool with the color, that sort of yellow color that looks like the primrose yellow of that Jag E-Type we drove a while back with the 4-wheel drive. But look, it's very simple. Its mission: do some off-roading, never get stuck, and never break down. This should be a heck of a lot more reliable than the Defenders that it competes with. So maybe we'll see more of these coming about in the world. We're going to be driving on these Toyo all-terrain tires. They're a 265/70 on a 16-inch wheel, disc brakes in the front, drums in the rear. To start our FJ behind this giant steering wheel with the Land Cruiser badge here, we've got our ignition right there in the steering column. Give it a little pump for that carb. Jumps right to life. Happy car. Up here we have our speedometer in kilometers. We have oil. I believe this is oil pressure, because it's moving with revs, and when I started it cold, it was definitely in the same spot. So that must just be oil pressure, not temperature. Our fuel gauge, our water temp, and our amps. Very nice to have all of this simple and critical information. Down here is our transfer case, so you pull it down for high 4, over for neutral, and over again for low. And then here is our 4-speed manual gearbox. I think I'm going to double clutch this. Not because it was crunchy, but it felt like I could feel the gears as I'm going 1 to 2. So I think what I'd like to do is just smooth that out with a little double clutching. yes, the steering wheel is a bit off center. That very astute observation, I'm sure, will be made in the comments. This is straight. There's a bit of play side to side, as to be expected with a vehicle like this. They're very old school. They're raw. There's a lot of driving engagement that is required. I believe it only revs out to about 4,000 RPM. But you don't need a lot of revs because it's got displacement and torque. It's a bouncy ride. And you hear the drive line. But it's all part of the charm. That's what you want in a vehicle like this. You want to be part of the experience. You want to listen to new noises if you're unfamiliar. Oh, the brakes are they're heavy. They're like, feel like a block of wood. It's honestly very easy to drive, and it's pretty forgiving. It has so much torque, I don't have to like wind it out. My friend has a Defender 110 that we've had on the channel a couple of times, and the amount of throttle I have to give that engine just to get it out of a very simple situation is pretty outrageous. This feels downright fast in comparison. A lot less whiny than I thought it would be. I thought I was going to hear a lot of transfer case and rear end and gearbox whine, but it actually is relatively quiet. Going to be your favorite highway vehicle, but it gets the job done. You can get from place to place if you need to move it from one beach to another or to the off-road trail. Pedal placement, not exactly a heel-toe hero situation. Although I do have my pelote shoes on, so if I was ever going to try to look like a hero on camera, these are the shoes to wear when you're doing it. They've filled in some of the holes, lovely. But that's what's fun about driving something like this is you're not afraid to get a little messy, a little dirty, kind of get into the ruts of the road, go off-road. You want your FJ to be dirty. don't ask too much of it in the way of being sporty. That's how you get into trouble. That's how you roll things. And that's not what we want to do. All the controls are very easy. That's always something I love about trucks, is just having ease of control. Big, long shifter. Everything's got mechanical leverage to it to an extent. It's more about not abusing the ease of those controls, so that way you're not overexerting the truck or shifting too fast or steering too quickly. I just really enjoy this thing. So next, we're going to drive an Icon FJ with, I think, an LS3. That is going to be a very different experience. After 1983, I believe, is when they went to the four-door FJs. They got a little bigger because they needed to kind of capture that station wagon style market where people were starting to get into Suburbans and things of that nature. And behind me, you may be able to see a Wrangler. This ain't no Wrangler. I think this is a really unique experience. It doesn't feel like a Jeep. It doesn't feel like a Rover. It has a character all its own, but it's tight. It feels good. I mean, I know you're saying, what do you mean it feels tight? You've got all this play in the steering wheel. But it does do what I ask it to do. It feels a little safer than the Jeeps. It feels a little more put together and reliable and screwed down and powerful than the Land Rovers. So I'm in a good spot. I'm a happy boy. I love the FJ. Let me know in the comments what your experience with FJs in the United States has been like, or elsewhere really. This is just literally foreign to me, and I'm really thrilled. I hope that this drive brings back some good memories of people who either grew up in them or had them as their daily drivers. What sets this apart so much for me from a Defender is this powertrain. It's silky smooth. It requires very little effort from me as a driver. I've really not had to go full throttle in this. Whereas in a V8 Defender with that old, what is it, a Buick engine? My God, you've got to just rip on it so hard. And it doesn't go anywhere. And you kind of feel like, man, it's a good thing this thing has a low-speed transfer case so I can get it into 4-low if we need to climb a hill with people in it. But look, I mean, we'll go down to third. But still, this is a little bit of throttle, and it's climbing. The drivability is just so good. See what this horn is like. Pretty simple, pretty normal. cabin doesn't feel delicate either, which is a real nice thing to feel, because I don't feel like I'm ripping the blinker stock off of this. No, there's a Cybertruck. I would much rather be in my FJ40 than in the Cybertruck. Yeah, this is the correct vehicle. I think this is more reliable, probably more stout. I've seen what Whistling Diesel did to his Cybertruck. I don't think you can rip any body panels off of this thing without jaws of life. One of the strangest things about the vehicle is just that the body lines, the truck tapers in like this. So it's wider here than it is up here. It's not like the door goes like that. So it is a strange shape, but it adds to the character, it adds to the look. The Land Cruiser today is a heck of a lot different than it was, but actually maybe it's getting a little more close to these roots, because the Land Cruiser got big, real big. The previous generation with the Heritage Edition was a monster. Big V8, family hauler, 3-row SUV, very off-road capable, but not the little guy that can weasel its way through some narrow, woodsy trails. The latest Land Cruiser uses the name and becomes a little more of the everyman's SUV. Okay, we can do that in third, that'll do. And I don't think we'll ever get back to what this is. The FJ Cruiser was probably the closest iteration of that. You know, obviously kind of harkening back to the FJ name. But it is exciting to see where Toyota came from. I haven't driven very many old Toyotas. And we go back in time and we see Jags and Porsches and Ferraris, but it is really fun to look at where did these cars come from before we were looking at the RAV4 inundation on American roads. Just like I've got my Honda Civic Type R, I haven't driven many old Civics. I want to drive some stuff from the 70s from Honda. So now that we're back at Bond Group, I want to say thank you to them for the opportunity to drive this fantastic FJ40. This was really fun. And hopefully we'll get into an Icon FJ in the near future, so that way we can really show off what can be done with these vehicles when you put an LS in them and some other crazy suspension goodies. But for now, that'll do it. Thank you guys so much for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. I hope you enjoyed the sights, sounds, and drive in this Toyota. Don't forget to respect the drive, and I'll see you in the next one.